Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon, let's get to it.
Welcome to Undisputed, live from Los Angeles. I'm Alex Curry here with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. Good morning, guys. How are we doing on this Tuesday?
Woo! Great, dude.
Woo!
I'm a home boy.
You're about to have a new neighbor up in Bel Air. Somebody's going to buy right on your block.
He could buy the whole block.
He might buy the whole block because Patrick Mahomes just got Shannon Sharp money.
Man.
Woo!
And guess who next, Skip? My homeboy, Dakota Prescott.
Oh, good. Let's talk about him now. How about it?
I'm good, bro. I'm good.
Now, that is obviously the biggest story today. Patrick Mahomes' new mega 10-year extension with the Chiefs, the largest contract in sports history. But with Mahomes getting paid, it's bound to have an effect on Dak Prescott, who has been franchise tagged and is still waiting for his new contract this summer. The Cowboys have until next Wednesday to work out a deal with Dak. So, Shannon, how do you see Mahomes' deal affecting Dak's deal?
Skip, it's going to have an adverse effect. For the simple fact is that Jerry didn't get the deal done a year early. See, the thing that Mahomes has, and his deal in the first couple of years, Skip, is very team-friendly because he still had 2 years left, and he only took $10 million signing bonus. So if you prorate that over, say the life of the contract, Skip, he's only getting a little over $1.5 million a year. His base salary...
$1.5 million a year, how?
I'm saying if you prorate $1 million, the $10 million, he got $10 million at the time of signing.
I thought he got 63.
No.
Okay.
Well, I'm looking at his signing.
Okay.
A lot of that's going to be roster bonuses.
Okay.
What's going to happen, Skip, is that
this is highly complex.
It's 113 pages.
All right.
I know a lot of people seeing this and they're like, well, he's going to make $50 million for the next 10 years. And that's not how NFL contracts work. Maybe in baseball, maybe in basketball. But, Skip, I think the thing is that when you get down to it, Skip, let's not get into a whole lot of, he got roster bonus and workout bonus and incentive clause if he wins the AFC Championship, go to Super Bowl MVPs, all that. Skip, when you look down at it, he had 2 years remaining on his contract, kind of like Carson Wentz and Jared Goff. And because they were able to get this done with 2 years left, so now you bump that 2 years. So the first 3 years, Skip, yeah, he's going to get all that money, but it's very, very cap-friendly. The thing that Dak doesn't have is Dak has no years left. So Jerry's going to feel the full weight of this early and often. And that's where he made the mistake. If they could have gotten something done last year, and I know you mentioned this before, they thought they had a deal. Jerry said it was imminent. And then all of a sudden the magic carpet got pulled out from under him. But I think the thing is that also was going to hurt Jerry is that Dak doesn't want a 10-year deal. Mahomes was perfectly fine going out. Skip, this is unprecedented. The first 10-year deal I can recall, Skip, was Drew Bledsoe. I think that was in the late 90s. And then Brett Favre got one.
He did?
A guy on your team has a 10-year deal, Tyron Smith. I think Lane Johnson has a 10-year deal. Those are the guys I can think of off the top of my head.
McNabb got one, and Michael Vick got one early in his career.
So, Skip, normally you get a 5-year extension, 4 years, but never like this. This is basically a 10-year extension plus the 2 years. That's a 12-year deal. We don't see deals like this in football. We don't even see deals like that. They don't even let you do deals like this anymore in basketball. Baseball, Mike Trout got a deal similar to this, but it's very different because all that money, he's getting all that money. Skip, I think the thing is for Mahomes, he wanted some security early, but he had opt-out. Skip, there's no way I see Mahomes playing this contract out through its entirety. Because what happens, Skip, is that and I think I wrote this down wrong, Skip. His 2023 salary becomes guaranteed in 2021. His 2024 salary becomes guaranteed in 2022. Skip, he's going to be like 40. He's going to be counting 40. And granted, the cap goes up about 5% a year. Skip, even at that pace, you don't want to get on the books for $48, $50 million. So they're going to come back to the deal. I believe at some time, maybe the 5th year, they're going to come back and redo this deal. This puts an extreme amount of pressure on Jerry because Dak doesn't want a 10-year deal. Dak wants something, you mentioned 4 years, but you can't give him just a 4-year deal because that's flat 4 years. He doesn't have the extra 2 years like Wentz and Goff had, so their deals ended up being 6-year deals. If you give Dak a 4-year deal, Skip, it's 4 years, and guess what? That new TV money gonna start hitting, and that thing gonna hit different.
But guess what? That COVID money is not going to hit because that cap is going to sink next year.
But here's the PA is going to say, hold on, wait a minute. We need to make sure that if y'all want us to go out there and play this year, Because see, they got the public on this side right now. Y'all want us to go play, that cap can't dip. So that's the way I believe they're gonna play that situation. But Dak really has Jerry over the barrel right now, Skip, because guess what's coming down the pipeline? You got Deshaun Watson coming, and you better not let Lamar Jackson have another year like he had. Because Jared thought the price was going to suppress, going to stop at 35. That thing's about to go. The average price for an NFL quarterback, Skip, is about to be $40 million.
Okay. All right. Let's go first. Big picture, Mahomes and Chiefs.
Yes.
I am shocked at the commitment both sides made.
Yes.
Because both sides made a 12-year commitment.
Yes.
The
Yes.
2 years left plus 10.
Correct.
So both sides took huge plunges because the Chiefs have to, again, the deal is the deal.
Right.
And all the way I looked, the highest he's going to count against the cap comes at age 31 when he counts $60 million against the cap. Okay? Again, I'm going to knock on wood for him because I have to bring this up. He has been hurt here and there.
Right.
If you get hurt, the Chiefs could be on the hook for tons of money that would kill their cap going forward. Okay?
Because you mentioned that, Skip. He gets hurt because his salaries are being guaranteed 2 years in advance.
Yes.
Even if you let him go, he's going to have to pay him $45 million.
It would be, so to speak, crippling for your salary cap. And also, again, you have to do worst case scenario. What if he doesn't quite live up to this much money? How many Super Bowls do you need to get out of 12 years to make this worth your while? Do you need 2 more? Do you need 3 more? Do you need 5 more?
Right.
I don't know.
Right.
But you need some more Super Bowls, right?
He definitely can't. It cannot be a situation like a Brett Favre or like an Aaron Rodgers where you get there early in your career and then you don't get back.
Then you go 10 years and you don't get back.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's going to have to get 2.
And on Mahomes' count here, the plunge is, well, maybe in 4 years, this deal gets rendered obsolete. Maybe it starts looking like very team-friendly after 4 or 5 years, depending on what other quarterbacks do and how much money they get.
Correct.
Okay, now let's look first at the good news for Jerry Jones, and you hit upon it. Jerry loves long-term.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, Jerry can turn to Dak and the agent and say, hey, look what he did. He's 12 years. Would you like to go 7? Would you like to go 8? I still believe that Jerry Jones does believe in Dak Prescott as a long-term answer for his team. He just doesn't think he's Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Does anybody out there in viewerland think that Dak Prescott is Patrick Mahomes right now? Does anybody?
No.
Can you make a case? Can anybody in good conscience make a case that Dak is better than or equal to that guy?
Well, there are a few delusional Cowboy fans that actually believe that.
I think it's about 50-50 on Dak right now. And again, I don't follow it that closely. I just get the vibe that there are a lot of Cowboy fans who, remember, we have been spoiled by Roger Staubach. We have been spoiled by Troy Aikman.
Right.
And all of a sudden, if you're starting to say, well, is he that? No, he's not that.
Well, Jared was playing Tony Romo like he was Roger Staubach or Troy Aikman.
That's a whole nother issue. That was about marketability. That was about box office.
Right.
Dak is not box office. He's a solid citizen. He's a good guy. He's got 12 national TV commercials
that's
at
box
last
office.
count. Okay, that's pretty good. That's pitch perfect, right? Okay, you're pitch perfect because you come across as a really good guy. Romo was a little bit crazy, but fun and funny. And
so you try to say Dak is Broadway and Tony Romo is Hollywood.
Yeah.
That's what you try to say.
I'll buy that. Okay. So the point is, Jerry can, good news, he could say, hey, you guys want to go out now? Do you want to do 5? Do you want to do 6? Because we can prorate out.
Right.
And maybe we can make this a little friendlier to you if you give us some years on the back end. I do not believe they want to do that because they have been stuck on 4 years so they can hit the market again when Dak would be, what, 30-ish?
Because, Skip, if I'm not mistaken, now, Skip, don't quote me on this, but I think the old TV contract has 2 more years, and then the new contract comes in. So Dak has said, I'm trying to hit that new contract, too, because they believe, Skip, that at 2025, the cap could possibly be $250 million, maybe even $300 million.
Okay. Now for the bad news. I believe that Dak and his fairly new agent correctly projected and predicted the market because I kept telling you they're thinking Mahomes will land at around an average of $45 million a year. And that contract, even though it's spread over 12 years, it averages $45 million a year.
Yes.
it's so long that it allows you to say, hey, I got the biggest contract in sports history, not just NFL history.
Wow.
You can say, I got $500 million. A lot of it is yet to be earned.
Right.
And not all of it. In fact, on the guaranteed part, I can only see 31% of it guaranteed,
right.
although they get these guarantee mechanisms that could kick in. I don't know. That boggles my mind, so I didn't want to go there. Let's simplify to it's worth $45 million a year.
Right.
So I kept telling you, Jerry has offered $35 million. 30, I think it's 36-ish.
Right.
For 5 years. And Dak and company want close to 45 because they were predicting that's kind of the ballpark where Mahomes would fall.
Correct.
They were correct about that. And Jerry's saying, 45 million? What have you done for me, especially lately? Because I'm going to remind everybody, going into just last football season, the NFL players voted on a top 100. It was all players vote. And who didn't make the top 100? Dak Prescott didn't even make it into the top 100.
Right.
So Jerry's saying, okay, I start with that base, and then I go to last year. And Dak had 3 just spectacular games to start off with. But the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp is dismissing all 3 games because the opponents are garbage. Am I right?
Yeah.
Because it goes Giants at Redskins, Miami at home,
Yep.
and Shannon Sharp is saying, wake me up when you play somebody.
I would try to tell you.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay. So at that point, after the first game, the opening day game against the Giants, Jerry is telling the media, we are imminent. And imminent as in what, Jerry?
Right.
Weeks? No, days. Within days, within this first week of the regular season, I'm going to get this deal done because all we need to do is cross a couple of T's and dot some I's. But after 3 games, Todd France, the fairly new agent, goes back to Jerry and says, guess what, Jerry? Not April Fools, but September Fools. The deal just went up and it went through the roof because we're going up above 40, and it's somewhere they're asking between 40 and 45 million a year for Dak Prescott.
Right.
So he bet on himself, and over the last 13 games, I want to remind everybody, Pro Football Focus over those 13 ranked Dak Prescott as the 15th best quarterback in pro football, and that's about midway. That's 32 teams, 32, you could say, starting quarterbacks. He was ranking 15th. In that group of games were included 7 games in which my partner, Shannon Sharp, gave Dak Prescott a flat-out F as in fail.
I think I threw some D's in there, too.
No, it was F as in fail, and the games were at New Orleans, Green Bay at home, Jets at Jets.
Sounds about right.
And you lost your voice rooting against the Cowboys in the press box, or in a suite, I should say, at Denver, at Mile High, right?
Yes, game,
Okay, then we go at Chicago. What a debacle that was.
That was Thursday night game, too. Y'all were terrible.
We got Buffalo, another Thursday game.
Got Buffalo.
We got Buffalo. That was the worst we were beaten all year, and Dak did not play well in that game. We also have at New England in the cold.
I don't know what that was. And you say your guy quit on y'all.
That was ugly. Not that guy. Amari quit.
No, I'm saying you like Amari, too.
Yes, okay, I got it.
He changed life.
And then finally, sink or swim, do or die, win or go home at Philadelphia. Dak had a banged-up shoulder, did not practice all week, but I got to say, I have to admit it, he stunk it up. So that's 7 out of the last 13 games that my friend, the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp, said F as in fail for those games. Yeah. Well, that's just not good enough. So if you bet on yourself, you lost that one. And then, again, with potential big cap plunge because of the pandemic and the money that could be lost, I don't know how that's going to play out. Right. But now Jerry's sitting back saying, what am I supposed to do now? I offered him about $36 million for 5 years, which at that moment, if he had taken that deal, would have made him the highest paid, not just quarterback, but player in the National Football League. Well, that just got blown out of the water, times about 5.
Skip, we can dance all we want to, but the Kansas City Chiefs did this for one reason. They 1,217% believe in Patrick Mahomes.
I got it.
That's what
they believe in him like family.
Yes.
We want to be family.
And here's the thing. Dak was saying, okay, you want me to do a deal. Now, Russell Wilson had 1 year left on his deal. Pat Mahomes had 2 years left on his deal. Okay, let's come in somewhere in between. 40 million is in between. 35, 45, 40, right down the middle. We got a deal, Jerry.
But think about this. Dak is coming off 8-8 and no Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, to his credit, has been an MVP, and now he is the reigning Super Bowl MVP.
Right.
Well, I can't take that away.
No, you can't.
Okay, so again, does Dak belong in the same ballpark with Patrick Mahomes?
Dak says, I'm willing to take $5 million less.
Okay, so maybe there is some room for compromise.
Yes.
I'm going to doubt it because when the rug got jerked out from under Jerry Jones, he prides himself first and foremost on being a negotiator.
Right.
That's what he does for a living. But once you do that to him, the blood gets so bad that you're almost to do not invite him stage where you can't even sit down at the table because you can't even look each other in the eye, or at least Jerry's not going to look you in the eye because he has lost too much respect. You did not treat him man to man the way you should have in a negotiation. So is the blood so bad that it's just over? Because here's the other way to look at this. And I don't dismiss this as something that I kind of, the more I think about it, I'm getting more comfortable with it. Dak has already accepted the franchise tag.
Yes.
So that's $31.4 million. Again, compared to 45, it sounds like chopped liver, but it is not. It's 31.4. Just to remind everybody, Cam Newton just signed for a deal that on base salary barely gives him $1 million. It's 1.05.
But Cam was the #1 overall pick and already got another deal.
Okay.
So Dak Prescott says, I just got off my original contract that made me $2 million. And Dak's like, well, hold on, wait a minute. I need.
All right.
But Skip, the difference is $31 million is for 1 year. Pat Mahomes got security for the next 3 years, bare minimum.
Okay, if they do the first year on a tag, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a second year on the tag unless something great happens. I think Jerry...
Why would you tag Skip? Why would you tag him again? Either you believe it, either he comes back and he wins.
Okay, I'll tell you why.
Why?
I believe Jerry is saying, okay, show me. And when I say show you, I'm talking about big show. I'm talking about if in the next 2 years, if he is tagged for 31.4, and then I think the next one's 37.7, I also think they could go up some because of that man.
Yes.
That deal's going to get factored into it.
And Mahomes coming.
It's going to,
not Mahomes, but
Deshaun. But I think it might bump it a little bit up. Not sure how that works.
But this is this is your worst. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. Now, for some unforeseen reason, and I don't wish, because I don't want to hear your mouth, but if Dak Prescott gets this team to a Super Bowl and they win.
That's what I was just going to say. Okay, that's what Jerry's saying to Dak. Show me. If you if you so much as get us to a Super Bowl, you don't have to win it, but if you get the Dallas Cowboys back to the Super Bowl this year or tagged next year, then I believe Jerry would go this route. He would
got
do
no
this.
choice.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. He gets to the Super Bowl and you try to franchise him again, Dak Prescott's not coming to camp.
No.
So,
And he wouldn't. And Jerry wouldn't. What's Jerry's reputation? What is his reputation?
His reputation about to be this right here.
No.
So, hold on, wait a minute. You telling me Dak Prescott going to say, ain't no way I'm taking less than Pat Mahomes. If I get to a Super Bowl, I've won 2 divisions, Pat Mahomes never been Rookie of the Year.
Then he would be worth what we're talking about.
Okay, then.
Okay, but remember, you have to get to a Super Bowl in the next 2 years. And for if you look at Dak's big picture right now, all the pressure is going to be on him to perform immediately. Because if you don't, Jerry's not sold enough because you haven't done enough. You've had 2 really good years and you've had 2 down years. And in the playoffs, you are 1 and 2. So you had 1 good playoff game. You played very well against Aaron Rodgers. I thought you played very well against Jared Goff, but you did lose those 2 games.
You do remember, does Jared remember when he had Jason Garrett and you called him Mr. 8 and 8 and they weren't making any playoffs? So Jared talking about he hadn't performed well. The guy that he was playing a ton of money, Tony Romo, weren't performing well either. And he had no problem biting that bullet. So Dak Prescott said, well, wait a minute, Jerry. You keep telling me what I'm not doing, but I've seen you pay guys that did less than what I'm doing. So what's the problem now?
Okay. Just remember, going into last year, a lot of people evaluated the Cowboy roster as the best in the NFL. Now that C.D. Lamb has been added to Amari and to Gallup and to Zeke and to Tony Pollard and to Blake Jarwin, all of a sudden you're saying, Dak, you should do something with this. The offensive line, I saw Pro Football Focus yesterday, ranked it the 3rd best in football.
Yeah.
So should this offense be explosive? Could Dak be an MVP right in the middle of the MVP race? Sure he could.
But, Skip, the offense, I mean, I don't really think the offense was the problem. Yes, they have they had lulls where they couldn't get on track. But once they got moving, they had a top offense. They were a top 5 offense basically throughout the entirety of the season, especially in total yards. And I think that comes from being behind a lot, Skip, and being able to move the ball between the 20s. But when you look at this, Skip, I think the thing is you can have the best ingredients, but if you don't have somebody to know what the hell they're doing, what good is that? And you get Jerry. If Jerry were to sit his butt down, see, Skip, Jerry wants the credit. Okay, Jerry, you're doing a great job. Will McClay is doing a great job of selecting players. But Jerry won't let it play out, Skip. At some point in time, you own the restaurant. You ain't got to come in there and oversee the chef. Okay. You ain't got to dip your... Ooh, but that's going to be good. Stay out of the kitchen, Jerry.
Okay, but this is the first time in Jerry's history owning the Dallas Cowboys when he drew a line in the sand, because he usually overpays like crazy. They're all his quote-unquote sons. Mm-hmm. He overpaid Zeke last summer. I'm sorry, he just did. He overpaid DeMarcus Lawrence. We can go across the offensive line and you can say overpaid. Right. Collectively, they're very good.
But you mentioned something that Dak has been very unique. Dak has not been chummy or buddy with Jerry Jones. He's kept his distance.
He has, and I respect that, and the team respects that.
They do, but Jerry doesn't, because Jerry says, I was able to get close to all my players.
That is true.
And so what's different? And Dak says, I want to have a relationship. And maybe that's the Tom Brady syndrome. Maybe Dak is looking at where Tom and Coach Belichick didn't have the greatest relationship, or so he's like, you know what? I'm going to be my man. I'm going to keep my head down. I'm going to keep moving forward. And that's different, Skip. Jerry's very careful. You've been around it. Mm-hmm. Jerry's the type of guy, you see Jerry at the bar, Jerry's sending you food, Jerry's paying for everything. Mm-hmm. Dak's like, no, I'm my own man. I don't need you to pay for anything but my salary.
Yeah, it is funny. Jerry's as generous a man. It's drinks on the house. That's his attitude.
That's him.
He wants to be liked. He wants to be liked by his locker room. And yet this is the first time I ever saw him draw a line and say, that's even too rich for my blood.
It is.
If you're asking for close to what we think Mahomes is projected out to get, which is $45 million, you haven't shown me that much. You're not that guy, because nobody thinks you're that guy except you.
That's how Jerry walk into a bar. How you doing, Mr. Jones? Yeah. Let me buy you a drink. Yeah. Get him a drink on me.
Correct.
That's who Jerry is. Mm-hmm. But for whatever reason, Skip, I don't know why Dak has never embraced like all the other former Cowboy players have embraced Jerry. Dak wants to do his own thing. He wants to be his own man. I have no problem with that. But Skip, for me, when it comes down to it, the Chiefs, for them to make this kind of commitment, because think about it, Skip, normally you have to work that season to get paid. He's getting his money gonna be given to him a year in advance. Skip, I mean, I read, hold on, I'm like, hold on, how's his 2023 salary guaranteed in 2021? Skip, that's unheard of.
Mm-hmm. Yet the scope of the deal is not unheard of. No. It's actually pretty fair to both sides. Yes. It's actually maybe more fairer to the Chiefs than it is to Mahomes, looking out into the future.
He got the security that he wanted, and they got to prorate it out over what they want, so it's something that's palatable to them.
All right, so I am hoping against hope that Jerry Jones and Dak Prescott see fit to sit down in the next, we got, 8 days left? One of these nights, they have a couple of beers or whatever and just sit down and eat some nachos and say, let's figure this out and find some middle ground in which both can be almost comfortable.
Right.
And if that could happen and that could be signed, sealed, and delivered for the long term, I would be very happy. All of my instincts right now say that will not happen.
I totally agree. I believe Dak's playing this year on the franchise tag,
I do too.
Because they can't come to a resolution. Jerry is going to want something somewhere between 5 and 7 years, and Dak's going to want something 4 or less.
Yep.
And because you can't, it's hard to prorate the kind of money Dak's going to want in a signing bonus over 4 years. Dak's going to want, $65, $70 million. And you look at Mahomes, Skip, his base salary is $825,000.
Yeah, but he just got 63.1 to sign.
But you can prorate that over what, Skip? 6 years, over 12 years.
Over 12 years.
So you good.
Okay.
You can't prorate $60 million over 3 years and make it look good any kind of way.
No mercy. Donald Trump sent a series of tweets to Bubba Wallace yesterday, arguing that NASCAR's only black driver should have apologized over a report of the news found in his garage stall last month, calling it a hoax and questioning NASCAR's decision to ban the Confederate flag from the sport. But Wallace took the high road. In a tweet addressed to, quote, the next generation and little ones, Wallace wrote, quote, even when it's hate from the POTUS, love wins. Shannon, what do you make of this?
Well, what Donald Trump, and he's acting like a football coach, going back to his best plays. Skip, what he's doing is that he's feeding his base because this is what gets them going. So you see, Skip, and we put it in football terms. But hold on, before I go there, Skip, I thought we were keeping politics out of sports. Is NASCAR politics? See, he brought me back in, so here I go, Skip. I'm plunging back in. I was trying to leave this alone.
You were welcome to plunge.
He brought me back.
The door just got open.
It did. Skip, what he's trying to do is that he's trying to distract. COVID has flared back up. Remember, he was encouraging a lot of these states to open up. Texas, Florida, Arizona. And now we're at levels that we're before we locked it down completely, we're at levels higher than that.
How well we know. Right here in L.A.
Exactly. So what he's trying to do is distract and Skip his base. They believe in him. And what he's doing, he's doubling down on the race card because that plays well to his base. Skip, I don't really know what Bubba needs to apologize for. The FBI came down. They said this was a noose. They didn't say it was anything else. They said it was a noose. Skip, I love the term, two things can be true. This is a noose, but the FBI also said they do not believe it was put there for hateful or intimidation type purposes. Skip, okay, just because it wasn't put there to intimidate doesn't take away from the fact of what it is. Skip, what is this? This is a pen. This is a Mont Blanc, a very expensive pen. Skip, if I were to do something, if I were to stab someone with this, it didn't change what it is. I just used it for the purpose that it wasn't intended for. That was a noose, although it wasn't used for the intentions of what it was put there for. It was a garage pull. Okay, Skip, if they want to say it's a garage pull, it's a garage pull. But the FBI also said, Skip, it was a noose. What is transpiring, Skip, is that the black movement, the Black Lives Matter, and a lot of the white population have come on board with this. And he's doubling down on the Confederate statue. Skip, that's our history. Really? Knowing what the Confederacy said, Skip, they believed that they were superior to the black race. And they said that the slaves should be that for perpetuity. That was the only reason they fought the North. They fought it for no other reason, slavery, and to keep blacks oppressed. That's it. And now now he wants monuments up there. Oh, these brave. No, they didn't. Skip, if you want to put Eisenhower, the great generals that fought in World War I and World War II, where are their statues? If you want to put them up, okay, have at it, Skip, because they fought for all of America, not just the Confederate. I'm confused, Skip. I thought he loved winners. He's a winner. He's winning. I thought he liked winners. Does he realize that the South lost? They lost. And so what he's doing, Skip, he's going back to his playbook because the plays that he used last time, what it won him? It won him the presidency. So, Skip, I'm always going to go back to the plays that won games for me. Tom Brady has plays that he believes in. Remember, Skip, we had when Pat Mahomes was mic'd up in the Super Bowl. He goes to the sideline. He says, Coach, what about that play?
Yeah.
What about that play? Well, President Trump says, hold on, what about that play? That race, it worked well for me last time. Mexico is sending them their worst. They're rapists, they're murderers, they're drug dealers. And look at these asshole countries. So and immigration is going to skip. It's worked well for him. So let me see if it'll work again. And maybe I can shift the attention. We won't realize, and you'll become numb to over 130,000 people dead. Maybe you'll become numb to that. Because he's trying to run on economic policy. Well, Skip, if this thing shuts down again, kaput.
So, to validate what you just said, I see this as desperate act by desperate man. He is 2 weeks late to this issue because he needed something to distract with.
Right.
And I'm very happy he brought this back up because I'm not finished with it. So, first of all, I want to address the word our president used, hoax. This was yet another hoax. I don't know what the other ones were, but it's like, you people are at it again.
Right. Well, the Mueller investigation, the Russia thing was a hoax.
Okay. This was not a hoax.
No.
the FBI confirmed there was a noose hanging in that garage. And if we could see that noose, I just want to remind everyone once again, this is courtesy of NASCAR. They were transparent enough and they were out ahead of this enough. They showed us the noose.
Right.
When I first heard about this, I pictured a baby noose, like a little hand noose where you could get a better grip on it to pull the door down.
Right.
But no, it wasn't a baby noose. It was a legitimate, full-on, authentic, hang-em-high noose.
Yes.
Right?
That's what it is.
One that could be adjusted to fit around your neck.
Correct.
Am I correct about that? So why that would be, I don't know. So this is what I cannot get through my skull. This is what sticks in my craw. The FBI concluded that it surveyed 1,684 garages across 29 NASCAR tracks around this country of ours, including the 43 garage stalls at Talladega that are in question here.
Right.
1,684 garage stalls, and they found only one hanging noose to be used as a quote-unquote door pull, okay? Help me out. The odds on this are astronomical. It's billions to one that when Bubba Wallace, the lone African-American driver, goes to Talladega, the odds of him actually being assigned to that garage are beyond coincidence, because it's beyond chance, it's beyond fate. It's impossible that he got assigned to that garage. You can say in the past they've done it on order of money winning, but there are new points now. Because of COVID and they're trying to social distance the drivers, there was a new way to assign. Well, help me out. If this noose had been hanging since last October in that garage, I got two big issues. Why wouldn't anybody at Talladega in charge, anybody in the garage area, say, time out? Well, what is that?
Exactly.
It's not a baby noose. It's not like a handle noose. It's a legitimate noose is hanging in that one garage stall. So how, I ask our president, how did Bubba get assigned to that garage stall? There are 43 there at Talladega. What are the odds? Help me out. Isn't it billions to one?
Skip, even if that's the case, why not say, you know what? Man, Bubba, news, black. Man, let me take this down before somebody sees this.
Okay.
That's what you think the logical thinking would be.
Somebody in charge at Talladega would say, hey, wait a second. What are we doing here?
Thank you.
So Bubba didn't find the news. One of his mechanics named David Crops, who happens to be African-American also, first walked into the garage and said, what? And according to Bubba, then he took a tour of the whole garage area, all 43 stalls, just to make sure that, were there like maybe 8 or 10 of these? Is that just the new way at Talladega?
Correct.
And of course, he found zero other ones. What conclusion would you arrive at?
Yeah, it's a noose.
And it's in your stall? Okay. And Bubba's the lone black driver, so help me out. What's going on here?
Well, Skip, in order for Bubba to have to issue an apology, Bubba would have had to put the noose there. Bubba would have
like he put it, if he planted the noose to gain sympathy, you got him. You got him.
But Bubba didn't see it. Skip, Bubba didn't see it. They told Bubba about it. And so the FBI went down there and so
the FBI concluded he did not plant the noose because it had been hanging there since last October.
And the FBI made it abundantly clear it was a noose.
Okay, it was a noose. So he has to apologize for what? Is he still not a victim of this? You can say it wasn't a hate crime, but was he still not a victim of somehow being assigned to one of 43 stalls that had a noose as a door pull?
And Skip, also, he's still doubling down on the Confederate flag. Oh, NASCAR took the Confederate flag. Skip, even Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is from South Carolina. Now, Lindsey Graham, all the things that he said about President Trump when they were both running for the presidency, he backed off, and now he's become one of President Trump's staunchest supporters.
Okay.
And he said NASCAR is trying to grow its business. It's hard to grow a business with that flag. Now, Skip, if you just want to appeal to a certain group, keep it. But NASCAR says, you know what? We got to find some new fans. We got to get we got to broaden our audience. And that's what they're trying to do. Well, it's hard to get open-minded people, blacks, open-minded whites, to come join in when they see the Confederate flag and they know what that flag represents. So, Skip, anybody, and I saw under Bubba's timeline, they still call him Justice Smollett, and they still say you're a fraud and all that stuff. Skip, if you do not understand that the FBI concluded this was a noose, although they also came to the conclusion that it wasn't placed there for hateful or intimidative purposes, unless you're deliberately and purposefully trying not to understand and see that, Skip, I don't really know what else to say.
Okay.
Because if you refuse to see that that is a noose, that's what it is. The FBI called it that. Just because they said it was a noose and it wasn't placed there for purposes, intimidation purposes, that doesn't change what it is, Skip. How do people not see that unless you're deliberately trying not to?
Okay, so he wasn't directly a victim of a hate crime.
Right.
But this has to fall into the category of passive-aggressive racism or subtle racism or look the other way racism. Somebody at the track had to know.
Of course.
That's hanging in that stall.
For 9 months.
Yeah, and wait, Bubba's assigned to that stall because of what? Somebody in charge had to see that, know that, and stop that.
And I'm glad, Skip, pardon me, but I didn't know it was a black driver that discovered it. Skip, if he had
mechanic.
Yes, Skip, if he had discovered it and taken it down and said, well, I found the noose and I took it down, they wouldn't have believed it. Nobody would have believed that. So he had to leave it to let the world see that it was a noose and it was hanging in the garage. And the FBI concluded, yes, that's a noose. We don't believe it was placed there for hate purposes or to intimidate Bubba Wallace, but it was nevertheless a noose.
Okay.
So where's the hoax in that?
There is no hoax. And by the way, I want to congratulate Bubba Wallace for taking the high road here, because he has taken the high road from point number one. And I'm impressed with the way he's handled the whole thing.
He's flailing.
Yeah.
The president is flailing. There's no other way around it, Skip. You know what? You've been fishing. You land a fish, and he's going to do anything he can to get back in that water. He start flopping and doing all kind of things. He's gasping. That's what's happening.
Well, the polls say he's flailing.
Because his base, Skip, in order to be a president, to win a second term, you have to expand. He hasn't expanded his base. His base has become more staunch. They're more dug in. Oh, yeah, you're right, because that's appealing to them.
And Skip, just to add on to what you said about Bubba, just so much love for him and the way he is handling this situation. And as he said, even when it's hate, love wins. But we're moving on to the NBA, who recently released a list of social justice messages that can be displayed on the backs of jerseys for the league's restart in Orlando. But several players aren't happy with the options. When asked about the list, Mike Scott said, quote, "It was a bad list, bad choice. They didn't give players a chance to voice their opinion." Jaylen Brown agreed, telling reporters that he was, quote, "very disappointed with the list." So, Shannon, what do you make of this?
Skip, they make some compelling points, but you see where we are, Skip? Here we are. We're talking about slogans again. We're talking about symbolic gestures. And the issues that we're trying to are bigger than what's on the back of a jersey. You see, again, there we go. The shell game, and we done lost focus. Skip, for me, I get it. You want that, but the NBA has to draw a line somewhere, Skip. If the NBA says, okay, we're going to let y'all do it, whatever you know somebody's coming with F-45. Somebody's coming after police. Skip, come on.
12?
Yes, come on, man. At some point in time, we got to have guidelines. We have to have rules to this thing. You just can't. And then you're going to have 55, you're going to have 300, however many players, 22 teams and 12. So you're going to have 250 guys with 250 different slogans. And everything gets watered down. Some of it needs to have meaning. We're trying to draw attention. And I just don't get it. I mean, Adam Silver, damn if he do, damn if he doesn't. I mean, I think Adam Silver, for me, is the best commissioner going right now. And he's doing everything. He's bent over backwards for these players to try to not only get them in a bubble and get them in a safe environment, but whatever their causes have been. The Donald Sterling situation, he handled that with the greatest of class as anybody that would have. When I breed T-shirts and they want hoodies. Skip, they got hoodies. And the NBA players, and they shooting layups with it, and they playing with it because of Trayvon Martin. I can't breathe because of Eric Gardner. He's gone over and beyond, and it's still not enough. At what point is it going to be enough? So, Mike Scott and Jaylen Brown, you tell the commissioner what he needs to do. And then guess what? They're going to be somebody else, well, I want this call. And they're going to be somebody else that want that call. And then all the calls get watered down. Because if you got 15 different calls, we need to centralize this. We need to focus attention. We want the economic equality. We want justice. We want to end the systemic and institutional racism. I get that. Get out and vote. But Skip, you can't have somebody that tries to prepare 45 different dishes can't be good at one. Because he's too busy trying to do too many different things. It's just frustrating to me that this is an issue now that we're so close. And maybe the commissioner could have gone and says, okay, guys, go to each guy and says, okay, send in 2 or 3 what you would like.
Yep.
And then and then just say, the ones that get the most attention, those are the 3 or the 4 that we're gonna use. But this is getting ridiculous now. And we're talking about, again, symbolic gestures, slogans, phrases.
Okay, I always defer to you on all of these topics, so I defer to your opinion on this one. But I told you yesterday what my 2 cents from a distance was about this when we addressed this topic yesterday. I told you I found it deeply disturbing that the NBA limited freedom of expression here. This is maybe a crucial time in our development as a nation where a lot of white eyes and minds have been opened. And I can now speak only as a white guy over here. I need to be bludgeoned with this. I need a barrage of all this. I need to be constantly reminded. I need to be reconditioned and resensitized because I love my NBA, but when they come back, all the players have said, we're going there with dual purpose.
Yes.
It's 50-50. We're going to give you what you want. We're going to entertain you.
Right.
Do what we do best, what we do the best in the world at. But we also want to keep this conversation not just alive, but flaming hot in Orlando. Good. And again, I get all your stop the symbolics. I get that. Yeah. But it's a time of freedom, of black expression. And that's why I loved, listen, Jaylen Brown is a deep, smart young man.
Yes.
And he came up with 3 possibilities that were his personalized slogans or messages that he wanted to use on the back of his jersey. He said, break the cycle, results, or inequality by design. I love all 3 of those. Shannon Sharp might have said, economic equality, right? That could have been yours, just on the back, those 2 words. Or Shannon Sharp might have had in big capital letters, VOTE, right? That could have been yours. Everybody could have had something, and obviously you can't just go over the edge into F the police or whatever. You can't, but you could do...
and police brutality.
You could do that, but you could do less police immunity. Would that be, is that passable? Because you can't say stop it. Because it's so complicated, so complex. Maybe Adam Silver would say, well, we can't go that far. But could you say less police immunity? Because you've been hot on that. You've been way ahead of that curve. Okay, there are so many ways that you could have personalized expression. So if each player had said, I choose this, and as a backup, I choose this, maybe even 3, but whatever. And then you submit them to a committee that would be headed by, obviously, Michelle Roberts, but Chris Paul, LeBron, whoever could sign off. And Adam Silver would have his vote to sign off on, that's okay, that's okay. And there's certain things you just, again, we went through the whole thing about if victims' names, you can't, that's the slipperiest of slopes because
the WNBA actually
they're going to do it. So maybe it was feasible if they're going to pull it off. But Adam Silver was saying, gee, it's hard because we don't want to leave anybody out.
Because some, the more well-known ones, the Trayvon Martins and the Alton Sterling.
But then what about, and what about, and what about?
George Floyd's,
And even, will George Floyd's family want his name out there on the backs of all the shirts? I don't know. It would be up to them. That's their choice.
So you would prefer that the 200 or so, 250, maybe I don't know how many players going to be there. You would prefer that if everybody wanted to have a different slogan on their back, you'd have been okay with that.
Freedom of expression, but we needed to start this a month ago when it looked like the bubble was going to happen. We had enough time to go ahead and have each player, give them a deadline. You have 3 days to submit 2 choices. for your personalized freedom of expression message that you want on your back instead of your name. If you don't want it, one, as they said, you don't have to have one, or we'll provide one. We'll do just an overall Black Lives Matter. Obviously, that's going to be painted huge on every court. Okay? This is just me as a white guy. I need to be bludgeoned with that. I need to see, because it'll make me think. I'll be doing two things at once. I'll be really, I will be thanking the basketball gods that it is back. But as I watch, I won't see on LeBron's, the back of his jersey, I won't see James. I'll see whatever his personalized message was.
That's after after the fourth game, they go back. James will also be there, but you still be able to put whatever you,
this is for the first 4 games.
Correct.
But it's crucial to me to maximize the impact of the Orlando bubble stage on white America. I get where you're going, because you're like, enough of that. We've had enough symbols. We need action. We need results. Okay, well, one of Jaylen Brown's messages was results. Okay?
And I agree with you. I mean, he has some very break the cycle, inequality by design. I get all that. But I think the thing is, Skip, when you get so many people like, well, what's that? I never heard of that.
Okay, well, maybe it makes you think. Maybe it makes you look it up.
Man, it just, I don't want guys to be more concerned with slogans on the back of their jersey.
No, I got that. Okay, but in the bigger picture, it's starting to feel like the NBA's a little closer to the NFL than you might have thought to begin with, because we've heard for years it's the more progressive league. The superstars are business partners with the owners. And to a large degree, that has been true. But I do think that Adam Silver has hinted that he would prefer that his players stand for the anthem, because it's been a long-standing NFL rule that predates even Commissioner David Stern. So they want players, I believe, to stand in unison.
I think what Adam Silver wants, he doesn't want what happened in Formula One. Where you get 20 people down, and you get 20 people down, and you get 5 people up, and then we're talking about the people that was up as opposed to the people that was down. So I think he, Michelle Roberts, Chris Paul, all those guys, what are we going to do?
Okay. And this is just me. Again, my 2 cents, because it's worth no more than that. I wish I had heard from Chris Paul or from LeBron James about this, because this is, for me, this is a big deal. I know LeBron is focused on winning his 4th championship, and he should be, but it's a 50-50 proposition, and he has enough time in the day to speak up and speak out about this, because we had to hear from Jaylen Brown and Mike Scott. And I like Mike. I appreciate him as a player, but he's no star. Jaylen's emerging as one, but he's not. He doesn't have the impact.
So let me ask you a question, Skip. Is it going to be revolving? So can I have vote one game, break inequality by design the next game?
If it got approved.
So am I going to rotate?
I would think, just because it would be hard to execute all this and have enough jerseys made, I would think you would have to choose one. They would approve, let's say, 1 or 2, and you choose.
And are those jerseys going to be made available to the public? Because I know people will buy them.
Okay, well, then you got a marketing peg also.
Well, if that's the case, Skip, you might as well have 4 rotating jerseys. Say you can have this, this, and this on the back of them. Skip, they do this a lot with the Army-Navy games, Skip. They'll have courage, and they have dedication, they'll have determination. And so each player, I mean, it's only 3 things, but each player would have something different inscribed on the back instead of your name. You have something different. But it's not 15 different things.
As long as they're creative and thought-provoking, I'm all in. That's just me.
But I think we both agree you have to have a line somewhere if it's what's permissible. Because Skip, I don't care how good intention something might be, somebody's going to step over the line. That's just the way we are.
But you would have to have a veto process whereby they had to get approved. And that's okay. That could work. But you could still have much freedom of expression within the confines of a committee signing off.
And I agree. If you wanted to say, okay, guys, look, I need you to come up with 2 or 3 what you would like to have on the back of your jersey. I'm not saying they will be approved, but I'm saying give us 3 examples. And then you have somebody in the process look it over and says, okay, I kind of like this one.
Okay.
And, I Skip, for me, all these lists all the slogans that's out, it's hard for me to believe that Michelle Roberts and Chris Paul didn't signed off on that. Because it's different than the NFL now, Skip. They don't do anything without their partners. MLB is so powerful, you better not even think about trying to do anything without them.
Yep.
Because they'll shut it down.
I got it.
No mercy.
Super Bowl MVP Patrick Mahomes signed the largest contract in sports history yesterday, agreeing to a mega 10-year extension with the Chiefs for $450 million. Now, since he had 2 years left on his deal, the 10-year extension puts him under contract with the Chiefs for the next 12 seasons. So, Shannon, is this 12-year deal riskier for the Chiefs or for Mahomes?
I think it protects both of them, Skip, because it gives the Chiefs the ability to get this young man signed up. He's the most valuable commodity in football right now. So you tied him up. You got him under your umbrella for the next 12 years. And it gives them an opportunity to take care of him. He gets financial security, knowing that he's taken care of, and they get some flexibility. Skip, I think for me is that when you look at this, there's no question. See, man, it's the cap and we want to do something. I would like, no. Well, you know, COVID and She said, that's our guy. He's not going anywhere. We want him to finish his career here. And they took the steps necessary. Skip, when I was working out, and so when I got it, I saw Mahomes sign a record-breaking deal in 10 years. And Skip, I got on Twitter, I said, in order for this deal to make sense, it needs to be in excess of $400 million. Because why would you give up that kind of the ability to get back into the marketplace unless it was a deal of this ramification? I didn't think 500. I said it's going to have to be. Now, I think he probably could have gotten a little more in fully guaranteed money. But when you look at this and see that he's going to get 2023 salary guaranteed in 2021. So he's getting salary guaranteed 2 years in advance. So basically, Skip, the first 4 or 5 years is guaranteed. It's fully guaranteed. Because I don't see them cutting Patrick Mahomes next year. So he's going to play 2021. And he got 2022 and 2023 season money guaranteed. So for me, Skip, it was a no-brainer. I believe it's a 5-6 year deal max, but 10 prorates it out and it looks good. And I think at the end of the day, Skip, you know how a lot of agents are. They like, I want to be the guy that says, I got the first guy that got $500 million. And I want to be the first guy that says, my client, just Lee Steinberg, you know Lee, I know Lee, says, you know what? I was the first agent to get a football player to be the highest paid in any sport in history. I don't know how long it's going to last, but he can say that. So for me, Skip, it makes sense for both sides. And for you to tie yourself into that kind of term, Skip, it had to work out. It had to work out for you in some kind of way, and I believe it did.
Okay, so the one point upon which I stick that you make is it has to be a 5-year deal.
Right.
Well, it doesn't have to be. You did sign it. I assume he actually put pen to paper yesterday, right?
Yeah. He missed his workout.
Okay, so whether he likes it or not, he did, quote-unquote, sign his NFL life away for the next 12 years. They could hold his feet to the fire, and they could say, this is what you're going to get.
But I think they're going to want to come back and redo it.
Okay, but let's just say he can't live up to it. I don't know. I'm pretty sure he will be able to, but I'm not completely sure.
Right.
What if he doesn't? What if he gets hurt? Okay, let's look at his injury history. And I hate to even talk about this, but we have to. When we're talking about 12 years, I'm going to knock on wood over here for the sake of young Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
When he was at Texas Tech, he broke his left wrist and needed surgery on it. Okay? Not a huge deal, but it did happen. Dak Prescott has been, this is his biggest selling point, he just doesn't get hurt.
Right.
He did get a shoulder banged up last year, and it cost him his practice time before the final big game at Philly.
Right.
But speaking of shoulders, at Texas Tech, his final year, Patrick Mahomes had to miss a couple of games with a sprained AC joint in his right and throwing shoulder. What happened early last year? He sprained his ankle badly, and it became a chronic ankle sprain. Remember, we talked about it for the first, I don't know, 6-8 games of the year last year. It limited him to the point that it looked like it might even require surgery. And then what did it lead to against the Denver Broncos in that night game?
Tweaked his knee.
It led to what they called a dislocated kneecap.
Correct.
Well, when it first happened, it looked pretty bad. And it could have been some kind of ligament damage. It could have been torn ligament of some sort. That's what it looked like when it first happened.
Right.
Okay? Quarterback is one position you can get away with a torn knee ligament on, and you can bounce back and be just as good after that. We see Tom Brady, in 2008. Okay, so the point is, has he been hurt before? Yes, he has. What if he gets hurt? Do you want to make a point?
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm just looking at it. Go ahead. Okay. No, go ahead.
What if he gets hurt and can't live up to this? Are the Chiefs going to say, well, we need to give you a raise? No, they're not going to say that.
No.
Okay?
No.
What if he struggles? I'm going to remind everybody, when you become the highest paid quarterback or player in the history of sports, not just football, the target grows on your back. All of a sudden, lovable Pat Mahomes with his no-look, almost behind-the-back passes, his left-handed passes.
Globetrotter.
Yeah, his globetrotting, it won't be so lovable anymore because some of the rival teams, especially in the AFC West, are going to say, you know what, that.
Yeah.
And they're going to be after him, and they're going to plot their whole off seasons on how can we stop that guy? How can we humiliate that guy? Mm-hmm. And they're going to talk to him, and they're going to trash talk him, and they're going to be all over him, and it's going to be harder for him to live up to this deal. So, Shannon Sharp.
Yes.
I think a lot of this was Super Bowl euphoria that made this deal because it had been forever since Kansas City won that early Super Bowl. 50 years. 50 years later, all of a sudden they break through. And all of a sudden, Clark Hunt, who I watched when he was a little kid, coming up under Lamar Hunt, who I knew very well, all of a sudden, Clark's like, yes, we did this. And out of euphoria, you say, let's do a lifetime deal. How about that? Let's just make it We Are Family lifetime, right?
Right.
Now, you're going to have to commit too. So the risk for Patrick is, what if he outplays this deal and in 4 years, he's saying, hey, this thing's obsolete, man.
Right.
I deserve more. No.
And that's the risk that he ran, Skip, because like I said, the new TV contract is going to come in effect 2025, 2026, and they're expecting the cap to be $250 million, maybe even $300 million. And we're looking at these numbers because there's no turning back. And that's why Dak Prescott didn't want to do the deal. He wants to keep advancing the ball. And I think as players, they owe it to the players that's coming after them to keep advancing the ball.
Okay. Now, speaking of the Super Bowl, I'm going to make this point one more time. It's not like Patrick Mahomes dominated the Super Bowl. He did not dominate the Super Bowl.
In the fourth quarter, he did.
He did not dominate in the fourth quarter. So here's what happened. Late in the third quarter, it was 3rd and 12 from his own 39-yard line. They're down 20-10, and he does the inexcusable, the unforgivable. If we could see it, he drops back and he throws a pick. You're down 20-10 late in the third quarter. When that happened, I said, uh-oh, the Niners are going to win this thing. And Shannon Sharp's going to have a long Monday on Undisputed. Then early in the fourth quarter, he does, there it is again. Early in the fourth quarter, they're still down 20-10, and it's 3rd and 6 at the 49ers 23, and he does the unforgivable, inexcusable. He throws a, whoops, that's a bad pass, pick. And it looked like down 20-10 early in the fourth, you are cooked. Yeah. Then we move ahead to 7:13 left in the game. It's 3rd and 15 from his own 35, and he gets a rusher right in his face, and he basically throws a pop fly punt to Tyreek. He doesn't get much mustard on the throw. It is up for grabs. Here it is. The rusher comes free and hits him as he throws. The ball is basically up for grabs. Tyreek has to stop and come back for it. Actually, he waved and fair caught it.
Don't do that.
And the point is, when you make a throw like that on 3rd and 15, it's 50-50 the color of the jersey that's going to catch the football. Right. It could be a red jersey or whatever they call the 49ers, garnet, I think it is. So it could be that color jersey or it could be your jersey. And he was very lucky that Tyreek happened to be in the area code of that throw and was able to come back and fair catch it. So my point is, if those three things don't go, 2 of them went wrong, but then he was able to right the wrong with what I still think was somewhat of a lucky throw. That led to Jimmy G in the fourth quarter. Do you realize he is, as we're speaking about this, he's going 3 out of 14 for 36 yards in the fourth quarter. That's Jimmy G's fourth quarter. And he also, with 1:40 left in the game, I'm sorry, he's 3 of 11 for 36 yards. That was it. 1:40 left in the game. It's 3rd and 10 from the 49. He just misses. Here it is. He misses Emmanuel. Emmanuel's gone. A good throw there. Yeah. If he hits him just over the top of his shoulder and he catches it, guess what? The 49ers are ahead 27-24 with a minute and a half left.
You counting homeboy out?
No, I'm not counting him out, but I'm saying all of a sudden it gets dicey.
Because you remember what he did to Tom Brady, right?
Okay.
Tom Brady thought he counted him out too, and he got him in field goal range. And if Brady hadn't got that ball first,
really,
2-time Super Bowl champ.
Huh? Really? Huh? But yet I remember Tom Brady converting 3 straight 3rd and 10s in overtime at Kansas City.
I remember my guy converting, being down 10 points in every game.
Really?
And converting.
Against Bill O'Brien.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
Bill
Don't do that.
O'Brien?
Hold on.
That's all you got? Well, my point is, he's not infallible here. And his QBR for this game was 62, which is a scale of 0 to 100. It's not great. it was his lowest playoff QBR of his career. So he didn't exactly light up the 49ers.
In 5 playoff games, the man has 1,400 yards, 13 touchdowns, and 2 picks.
Okay.
And he's 24.
Okay. That's the guy you just gave the richest contract to in the history of sports, was the guy I just showed you late in the
I
Super
can't think
Bowl.
of a guy that should have got it more. Not Tom Brady kicking it like, God dang it.
So Tom Brady is making $25 million guaranteed for the next 2 years. 25 and 25.
Yeah.
That's $50 million,
My
right?
homeboy said, that's chump change.
That is now chump change.
My
compared to
homeboy
what
said,
he got.
I got that in the seat cushion.
So he's averaging 45, and he just got 63 to sign.
Yeah.
So he made Tom Brady look like he was just some pocket change.
And he said, you know what? I'm about to go win another. Because guess who shot? I mean, he was already there, but now he's MVP favorite again. But he's gonna be like Jordan and LeBron in their prime, that he's always gonna be at the forefront of the MVP race. It's kind of like Peyton Manning, Skip. Just like every year, Peyton Manning, when he was in his prime, MVP favorite, Peyton Manning.
Okay. So to cash this in, the Chiefs better hope he wins them. I'll just say 2 more Super Bowls.
Yeah.
2 in 12 years. If he could win 2 more, he would be worth the price of admission.
He might win 2 in the next 3 years. That ain't none of my business, though.
Do we have some duo?
No, don't worry about that.
All right.
No mercy.
President Donald Trump took to Twitter yesterday to criticize a pair of sports teams that are considering name changes in the wake of a national reckoning over racial injustice and inequality. Trump tweeted, quote, "They name teams out of strength, not weakness. But now the Washington Redskins and Cleveland Indians, 2 fabled sports franchises, look like they are going to be changing their names in order to be politically correct." Shannon, what's going on here?
Again, Skip, this is what he does. He's preaching to his base. He's trying to bring up election points that our history, our proud history is under siege here. You see what's happening, Skip, is that we see blacks are fighting for more rights. We see women, we see the LGBT community, we see the trans community. We see so many different bases fighting for rights. And change, he's very resistant to change. He doesn't want that because he thinks somehow, well, if they start getting rights, that means they're taking from us. Skip, I never understood that. And this is why I never got to make my point, Skip. This is why I never got mad at someone making money in football. Well, man, you see how much you got? Ain't coming out my pocket. Just because I gained something doesn't mean it's coming from you. And President Trump and his base feels that if blacks get more rights, if the LGBT community gets more rights, we're losing something. No, we're just getting what we should have had all along. We're not taking your freedoms. We're trying to gain more freedom. And they don't get that. He's preaching to that, Skip, because that worked. Again, Skip, I got to go back to my game plan. When all else fails, I know I got a dish that I can serve up that my base is going to love.
Yep.
And that is hate. That is to divide races. Skip, and normally what they do, if you look at times of crisis, you go back in the wars, and it's all about bringing the country together. That's not his approach. He said, I'm going to divide, and divide. I'm going to put my base against everybody else because I know I have their staunchest support. So this has worked well for him in the past. Why would he ever deviate from that? COVID is rampant, Skip. We're doing 50,000 cases a day. You look at Florida. You look at Texas. You look at Arizona. You look at these hot spots. Skip, even at its apex, when they shut the country down, they weren't doing numbers like this. And so this is what he does. Let me talk about these Confederate stats. Skip, come on. Well, what? What? Yes, Skip, the Civil War happened. It is a part of our history, but it should be a part of our history that we're not proud of.
Yep.
And we Skip, in Germany, they're not putting up no statues of Eichmann. They're not doing that, are they? No. So why should black people, and you remember, Skip, when they started, there were 2 periods in which they did this. Reconstruction, because blacks got freedom, they got the ability to vote, and they put blacks in the Senate, they put them in the House. They was like, whoa, no, wait a minute. They started putting in these statues, putting blacks in fear. And then Jim Crow, they started popping up more. Nah, he understands well what he's doing, is that this is what he's appealing to. I'm going to throw white meat, I'm going to throw red meat to my base. They'll eat it up. I'll distract them that you see COVID, what it's doing. We'll see what's other things that are going on in the country, and it'll distract them. They'll become numb to 130,000 people dying. They'll become numb to 50,000 people being infected today. And Skip, although they might not die, the long-term ramifications of you getting this disease, you see, because at first they thought it was just the lungs. Now they're finding out it has impact on your heart, on your kidneys. So you talking about it's harmless. Tell that to the families that's lost 130,000 loved ones. That is harmless. That's easy to say, because, Skip, what I've noticed is that this man has no empathy. He has none. And he feels that that's a part, everybody says, well, you're going to... No. That's not how it's supposed to work. The one thing that most presidents have is empathy. It's the ability to feel, to place yourself in that position of another man. He doesn't have that. And he doesn't seem to care. And people make excuse after excuse after excuse for him. Yep. And it's sad. It's really sad, Skip, that it's like this. They didn't name that for no strength. A derogatory term is strength. Wow, okay.
So, I've told you all along, I'm not nearly as political as you are. You take it very seriously. I just dismiss it because I can't control it. Feels like nobody's honest, and I just give up, and I'm a sports guy.
True.
Okay. But it sure sounds like yesterday our president decided he didn't need the 5 million odd votes of the Native American community in the United States of America, because what he just tweeted wasn't just politically incorrect, it was racially very incorrect.
Yeah.
And if I were a Native American, and I did grow up in what used to be called Indian Territory, the state of Oklahoma, red man, I would be furious at this tweet because it is so dismissive and disrespectful of my Native American, if I were one, heritage. So.
You know, the chewing tobacco called red man. My brother used to chew tobacco.
All right.
Made me think of that when you said Oklahoma.
So obviously he is now re-appealing to the farthest right of his constituency, because the farthest right is probably getting sick and tired of Black Lives Matter.
Correct.
And now they're dreading, oh, is it now going to be Native American protests?
Right.
Well, I hope so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because they've been treated as bad as we have, so they should be out there with us.
A quick history lesson for our president. Remember, George Preston Marshall, who became one of the great bigots, quote-unquote bigots in the history of the National Football League, probably the biggest racist owner in the history of the National Football League. Originally, when he founded the team in Boston, they were called the Boston Braves.
Right.
Well, that's brave. So if you're trying to play it from a position of strength, that would indicate you're nicknaming your team off the Braves, and the whole the term brave is okay.
Yeah, we get that.
We get that.
Yes.
But then that didn't work where they were, so they had to move over to Fenway Park, home of the Red Sox.
Right.
So he got cute and decided, well, what if we rename our team Redskins to go with the Red Sox? Well, at the very least, Redskins is a derogatory term.
Yes.
And I used to hear it in cowboy and quote-unquote Indian movies.
Correct.
Because we're going to get those low-down, no-good Redskins, right?
Yep.
And at very worst, it's just a flat-out racial slur used back in the day in which the white settlers basically declared war on the Native Americans. Right. And many, many lives were lost on both sides, but there were scalps taken both ways. And that was the origin, potentially, of the term Redskins.
That is correct.
Right?
Yes.
Okay, and then let's get to the Cleveland Indians, shall we? Again, the Native Americans in our country didn't name themselves Indians. Christopher Columbus mistakenly named them Indians because he thought he had landed in the East Indies, Southeast Asia. Chris, you're a little off course here.
A lot of off course.
Because you've landed in what will become the United States of America.
Right.
but you're a long way from Southeast Asia. But he looks at the indigenous population and he says, aha, these must be Indians, as in East Indians, as in India, right?
Yes.
Wrong. So the name Indians was not. It was forced upon the Native Americans.
Right.
And obviously a lot of them don't love it because they finally said, could you please call us Native Americans?
Right, because if this is America, we were native, so we should be called Native Americans.
We were here first.
Exactly.
Correct? So just a little history lesson. So again, you just, I think you lost a lot. If you had any of the votes of our Native American population, I'm afraid you lost them here.
Well, Skip, you know, he has to appeal to what's worked for him in the past. And he's all, if you notice, Skip, anytime if it's the Russia, the Mueller investigation, no matter what it might be, he'll always go back and play that race card. He'll always... NASCAR, Bubba Wallace, that was weeks ago.
Yeah.
And now you just bringing this up.
Got it.
Ain't nobody asked you your input on Washington and the name change. Who asked you?
And I must quickly comment on this because Elizabeth Warren went to my high school in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
And she's now the senator for the state of Massachusetts.
Right.
And she did exaggerate her Native American ancestry and heritage because it had her DNA test showed it. You had to go back 6 to 10 generations to find some.
Right.
So she eventually apologized. I think it hurt her some in the presidential nomination race, you know.
Well, I mean, I don't know how. I mean, if you lie, that seems to be, that's how you become president. You just lie.
Well, may be. But anyway, I think he used this. The favorite part of this tweet was Indians, like Elizabeth Warren, must be very angry right now. And I think he was just using it to poke and prod her one last time.
Because he called her, you know, Pocahontas.
He did. And faux Pocahontas, as in faux, right?
He just, and people love that, Skip.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, his face, they love it.
I got it. All right.
I don't get it. I mean, I don't know, Skip, I don't know if there'll ever be another person that will be allowed to do and say what he says, hold that office. There's no way.
Well,
And I just pray, and it might not happen but I just pray I'm around, and I want Lindsey Graham, and I want all these Republicans, and I want a Democrat, and I want him to try to run amok. And you watch how fast. You watch how fast they come to, Rand Paul, and Tim Scott, man. Skip, I'm sending money all over the country, Skip. Anybody that's running against Susan Collins, Lindsey Graham, Rand, I'm sending money.
No mercy. Patrick Mahomes' new mega 10-year extension with the Chiefs for $450 million is the largest contract in sports history. But with Mahomes getting paid, it's bound to have a domino effect on quarterbacks about to hit free agency. One of which is Dak Prescott, who has been franchise tagged and is still waiting for his new contract this summer. The Cowboys have until next Wednesday to work on this deal with Dak. And joining us now is Super Bowl champion and Fox college football analyst Reggie Bush. Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us, Reggie.
Good morning.
How do you think this deal is going to affect Dak Prescott's negotiations?
Well, I think this contract that Patrick Mahomes did is going to affect a lot of quarterbacks because one of the issues that I saw with the contract is him committing to the Kansas City Chiefs for 10 to 12 years. That's just too long. And a guy like Patrick Mahomes does not have to do that, right? One of the things about NFL football players and the league that people need to understand is that we cannot think like basketball players. We cannot think like baseball players in contracts because our contracts are not fully guaranteed. And so Kirk Cousins kind of gave you the blueprint, right? He showed you how to do it, get a fully guaranteed contract, which Patrick Mahomes can demand. He's one of those guys that can demand a fully guaranteed contract. And so when you go to the table, you got to think about the other guys as well. You got to think about the guys behind you because you bring them along, right? And so when Patrick Mahomes doesn't get a fully guaranteed contract, Jerry Jones is going to use that as a comp, right? And so that's what people need to understand. When you're the best player and you get paid a lot of money, your contract now becomes a comp for other players, right? And so if you don't get guaranteed contract, then other players will not get a guaranteed contract because Jerry Jones is going to say, well, look, Dak Prescott, I like you, you're great, but you're not Patrick Mahomes. You're not doing what he did. So how can I feel comfortable to give you a fully guaranteed contract, right? And then the other thing is just committing for far too long, right? I think Patrick Mahomes could have done it 4 or 5 years at a time, and taking his time because he can demand that. Because that's one of the reasons why we work so hard, so we can build up leverage, right? Patrick Mahomes just gave away all his leverage, because the one thing that NFL players always have is we have the threat of leaving, right? The threat of going to another team, very similar to how Dak Prescott is doing right now. But when you have the best player in the NFL that's willing to sign these kinds of contracts, what that does is it sends a message to the owners. And I think Lee Steinberg, Patrick Mahomes' agent, I think he did his client a disservice, because I think he sold him on the big number, right? The $450 million number that came out. It's the mega blockbuster number. But at the end of the day, it's not fully guaranteed, so that's not true. It's not the richest contract in sports history, because the only thing that was guaranteed to Patrick Mahomes was $63 million, which does not make sense to me when you're a Patrick Mahomes. You have to get more money guaranteed than that. You got a $450 million contract and only $63 million guaranteed. Now, what that says is you've committed to the Kansas City Chiefs for 10 years, but they have not committed to you for 10 years.
I agree with some of what you said. The Kirk Cousins deal is different, because here's what Patrick Mahomes had working against him, where Kirk Cousins was totally free. Patrick Mahomes has 2 years plus the potential of 3 tags. So that's 5 years. So theoretically, the Chiefs don't have to do anything for the next 5 years. They can stand pat, and then what does Pat Mahomes does? He says, playing the tag, this year 2.8, I think, 2.8. Next year is about 27 million. So theoretically, the Kansas City Chiefs really didn't have to do anything. Plus, you see what Dak's going through right now. Tag, and if they don't like they don't like the number that he's going to come back with next year, tag again. Then they can come with the tag, another franchise or transition tag. I think that's the thing that Pat Mahomes looked at, is like, hold on, wait a minute. They really have me under their clutching scale for the next 5 years if they want that. So let me go ahead and take this right now. And I agree. They looked at the totality of it and they said, man, we have an opportunity to sign the biggest contract in sports history. We have an opportunity to have a football player. That's never happened before at any point in time, where a football player was the highest paid player in any sport. We get that. But if you look at, Reggie, when you look at his numbers, that in 2023, that number becomes guaranteed if he does anything in 2021. I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. How you get guaranteed money 2 years in advance? They don't do that anyway. They don't do that on any job. You get paid for when you work. His numbers are going to come guaranteed in 2021 for 2023, which is unheard of. Now, I do agree. I believe he should have gotten more fully guaranteed money. I always thought for him to tie himself into a contract for this length of time, it had to be in excess of $400 million. I was thinking something along 200 million, 150 to 200 million fully guaranteed, 300 million guaranteed. So I do believe he did give up some, but he had to take this deal. I believe he had to take this deal because he had 5 years where the Chiefs didn't have to do anything.
Can I push back on one thing real quick?
Go ahead.
Because he could have got $200 million fully guaranteed for 4 years, come back, hit him again for $300 million fully guaranteed. That's $500 million he just made fully guaranteed in 8 years, not in 10 years.
Well, I don't know if they. So in other words, you said take a 4-year extension, so that'll be 6 years total, and then do a couple of 150 to 200 million and fully guaranteed. I can concede that, but that's a long time. 10 years is a long time. And Skip and I was thinking that I don't see him playing this contract out. They're going back to the table. One side or the other will come back to the table in 2025, 2026. This thing is not going to 2031.
If, in fact, the other side does want to come to the table, and that's not always the case.
That's true.
Okay, exactly. I want to say that Reggie Bush just made a powerful, compelling point. The truth is that Kirk Cousins' first deal when he went to Minnesota was actually a little better deal than the Patrick Mahomes deal, in that Kirk got $84 guaranteed million for 3 years, right? 84 million guaranteed, every dollar guaranteed, but only for 3 years. And he's already renegotiated on a second round.
Right.
So the point is, that was sweet, but he had just played through 2 tags in Washington to get to that point, and he was free. I got you. I know Lee Steinberg very well. In fact, way back when, I helped him get into his business, and he was helping me in mine when we were both just kids out here in Los Angeles back in the 70s. But the point is, there are two agents who worked on this deal, but Lee was the out front agent. He is the best known of the agents, and I think the big winner here was Lee Steinberg, because now he can tell clients down the line as he recruits them, hey, I got $500 million for Patrick Mahomes. It's not $500 million because by my calculations, only 31% of this deal is now guaranteed. Right. There are these mechanisms, which I have never seen before, these guarantee mechanisms that can be kicked in by your performance. But that's not guaranteed at this moment. Right. The $63 million up front, as Reggie pointed out, you just got a signing bonus of $63. That is guaranteed. Way to go. You can take that straight to your bank. But after that, now let's get back to the Dak deal. Dak and his fairly new agent, Todd France, correctly sort of educated, guessed, and predicted that Patrick would get in the neighborhood of an annual $45 million. So they were asking for in the neighborhood of $45 million. It's a lot of money for a quarterback who has not won an MVP the way Patrick did and has not won Super Bowl MVP the way Patrick did. It's a lot of ask for a quarterback who last year went 8-8 and missed the Pro Bowl. And heading into last year, the NFL players did not even vote him into their top 100 players. And my man, Shannon Sharp, sitting across from me down the stretch last year, gave Dak Prescott 7 Fs, as in fail, for his performance. And those games that started at New Orleans, and then there was Green Bay, and then there was at Jets, and then there was Buffalo, and then there was Chicago, and then there was at New England, and then there was at Philadelphia, and it was just nauseating for me because Dak did not play up to the levels I expected him to after he threw parties on the Giants and at Washington and Miami to start the year off. So the point is, it's hard to sell. Dak should make $45 million right now, so that's the impasse. And I do believe that they will not be able to get their heads together and compromise on a deal before the deadline, which is 8 days away. I think he's going to play for a tag this year of $31.4 million.
Which is not a bad deal for Dak Prescott because he can go back to the table and continue to renegotiate for more money. And so that's the thing that I keep coming back to with Mahomes is that the best player in the NFL cannot go back to the table to renegotiate for 10 years. Like, that just sounds crazy because the one thing for good players, when you're in the top percentage in your position, you have to continue to set the market when your time is up. If you continue to set the market, then you're bringing along everybody else. You're pushing the envelope, right? The fully guaranteed contracts, or at least getting more injury protection, in your contract. These are all things that we are working towards. We are not a finished product yet in the NFL by any means, right? We don't have guaranteed contracts, right? When John Gruden got his $100 million, that's fully guaranteed. Patrick Mahomes' contract is not fully guaranteed, so it's a very misleading statement when you say it's $500 million because it's not truly $500 million, and we've all seen it. He's already dislocated his knee once, right? He did. So God forbid in 4 or 5 years, he has a bad injury, is done for his career, then what, right? But that's the thing.
But see, the way they work the contract, Reggie, here's the thing that he has. If he's playing that season, that money becomes guaranteed 2 years down the road. So if you release him, that's going to be, you still got to pay him $45, $48, $49 million. I've never seen a contract written like this, that the money is tied to roster bonus. I agree. Should he have gotten? But it'd been interesting to see if Patrick Mahomes was totally free. If he was in Dak Prescott's situation, how much could he get? You see, he has 2 years. Kirk Cousins was totally free. So he got an opportunity to go on the open market. Pat Mahomes was never going to know anything about free or the market. He's never going to hit the market.
Yeah, you're right. And so, listen, I don't want people to think that I'm saying this is not a lot of money. This is a ton of money if he can make all of it. That's the thing. It's a big if. And we just all agreed that it's most likely he's not going to play this contract out. That's a long contract. There's a lot that can happen in 10 years. And the history of the NFL says that it's not a matter of if you get injured. It's a matter of when you get injured. And you just got to hope that it's not the big one.
5 years. I give him 5 years on this deal.
5.
Well, I think we can all agree that Mahomes' life has changed forever, both on and off the field.
No mercy.
President Donald Trump sent a series of tweets to Bubba Wallace yesterday, arguing that NASCAR's only black driver should have apologized over a report of a noose found in his garage stall last month, calling it a hoax and questioning NASCAR's decision to ban the Confederate flag from the sport. But Wallace took the high road, and in a tweet addressed to, quote, the next generation and little ones, Wallace wrote, quote, even when it's hate from the POTUS, love wins. Now, Reggie Bush is still with us. Reggie, what do you make of this?
Well, I think what I saw from NASCAR and Bubba Wallace in that picture you guys just showed us, I saw unity. And I saw NASCAR coming together to support somebody in a situation that they thought to be true. And whether it was or wasn't true, I don't think that's on Bubba Wallace. I think that's on NASCAR for, putting it out there to the world so quickly, right? And not maybe trying to handle it internally or whatever it was, however it got out. But what I did love that I saw was Bubba Wallace being supported by all the other NASCAR drivers, because that is something that we need to see more of, because we didn't forget about Kyle Larson and what he just said to the black, whoever he was talking to when he used the racial slur on the virtual, on the simulator race. We didn't forget about that. Okay, so we can't act like these things are not a part of this sport. This has been this way for a long time. African Americans, people of color, have been treated a certain way by this sport for a long time. And I'm so glad to see Bubba Wallace see a black NASCAR driver in the sport, because we need more of that. One of the things I would love to see NASCAR do is go to the inner cities and create programs for inner city youth, for minorities to become NASCAR drivers. There are so many talented young kids out there that never got a chance to become a NASCAR driver because they didn't know anything about it. They didn't know that they could be that. And so what Bubba Wallace is doing, that he's inspiring people, he's inspiring the youth. When I saw him wear the Black Lives Matter on his car, man, that made me so proud, because that's something we've never seen. We've never seen that kind of support for the African-American community from NASCAR. And so to me, this is about that. I don't want to focus on Trump, because I believe that he's going to continue to say divisive things. He's going to continue to make himself look like a fool. So just let him keep talking, right? I think, again, Bubba Wallace, he does not owe anybody apology. It was not him that went out and created this. He was just a product of a situation that happened. It was very unfortunate, but I love seeing all the drivers walking behind him in a sign of unity and saying that, you know what, little bro, we got you, because that's the only thing that matters, right? When I'm on a football field, the only thing that matters to me is my teammates. And that's the same thing that should matter to Bubba Wallace. It's his teammates supporting him. Reggie, let me ask you a question. Did you see the picture of what was hanging in Bubba Wallace's garage? What would you call that? Yes, that's a noose. That ain't a rope. It's very simple. The FBI identified it as a noose, although they also concluded that it was not put there for hateful or intimidation purposes. It was a noose. So therefore, his complete story about this was a hoax is a lie. Yeah. Skip, you see, think about what he said, Skip. Think about what he said, and I want people to understand. He said you should apologize to the people that supported you, the good people that supported you. Now, President Trump only thinks one people in America is good. That's white people. Yep. He's never said anything. There's good people in Charlottesville. There were good people on both sides. When those people went to Michigan and they went in the state capitol with those guns, those are good people. The governor should listen. You see what he did? Bubba, you should apologize to those white people that supported you. Really? When are you going to apologize to the Central Park Five? We now refer to them as the exonerated five. 1989, Skip, you remember it. Even though the DNA evidence came back, said they had nothing to do with this, he still won't apologize. But he wants Bubba Wallace to apologize for saying, there was a noose in my garage. My team alerted me that there was a noose in my garage. We didn't know why it was there. We just knew it was that it was there. The FBI concluded, yes, this was a noose, but it was not put there for the purposes of what you might have thought. What's the hoax? Well, I'm trying to figure. I still don't get what the hoax was. Okay, people that were NASCAR jumped the gun. Well, you can understand why.
Think about what had happened. They had just done away with the Confederate flag, said the Confederate flag is no longer welcome at our racetracks. We will not allow them to fly at our racetrack. Now, Confederate flag, defund NASCAR, flying over. The people are going crazy around the building with the NASCAR, with the Confederate flag. And Bubba Wallace finds a noose, a mechanic finds a noose in Bubba Wallace's garage. How do you think NASCAR was going to react? They reacted, I believe, the way any other organization would have reacted.
Yeah.
I can assure you, if somebody were to hang a noose, if they were to find a noose at Fox is going to react a certain type of way. That's just the way.
Yeah.
Especially if there's a noose hanging in front of my door, they're supposed to, Shannon, that ain't nothing going in there. That ain't going to happen because Shannon going to act up.
Yeah, right. This is my question. Did anybody else have that same noose in their locker? That's all I want to know. If anybody else, all the race car drivers had it in their locker, then okay. But if everybody else didn't have that, then it's a problem.
Okay, my turn. Number one, this was not a hoax because the FBI concluded it was not a hoax. The FBI concluded that noose had been hanging in that garage stall since last October. So it was not planted by Bubba Wallace or anyone on his team.
Correct.
It was already there before they got there, and it had been there for months before they got there. So Bubba Wallace was still a victim to me of a hate crime, even if it was a 1,000,000,000 coincidental hate crime, because Reggie, the question I still cannot get answered, and this is answering your question, the FBI did a national search of garage stalls in 29 NASCAR tracks. That included 1,684 garage stalls nationally, and that included 43 at the track in question, Talladega. So help me out. If that noose had been hanging there since last October, how was it in a 1,000,000,000 coincidence that Bubba Wallace got assigned to that garage in which that noose was hanging? And again, as I pointed out the first day I saw it, I expected it to be a tiny sort of hand-sized little baby noose that you could use as a handle to pull down the garage door. Nope. It was a full-fledged, hang-em-high kind of noose that you could slip around and cinch up against someone's neck. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time with the 1,000,000,000 coincidence that Bubba got assigned to that stall. Something is missing here in the report. And I do think NASCAR did a good job of being out in front of this. They were transparent. They showed us a picture of the noose.
Right.
But it was first discovered not by Bubba, but by his mechanic named David Crops, who also happens to be African-American, who was also obviously horrified at the sight of a noose as a pull-down rope used in his garage. So according to Bubba, he then did a whole tour of all the garage stalls at Talladega looking for a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth noose. Is this just the way they do it at Talladega? Nope, nope, nope. There were no other nooses. So Bubba owes somebody an apology for what? Bubba is still owed an apology to me by NASCAR or maybe not NASCAR, but Talladega.
Right.
Somebody should have seen that noose over the last few months and said, wait a second, we can't have that hanging in a garage, right? Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, I think it's pretty simple, right? We don't have to complicate it. It's a noose. We don't need the FBI to come in here and to tell us. We know what a noose looks like when we see one. We've seen it before. So we don't need the FBI, the DEA, or CIA, or nobody to come and tell us what that was. Black people can see that for themselves, and they can make a determination right away. It don't take 2 seconds.
Yeah, you don't need the FBI for that. I mean, you don't need to go to Quantico and say, well, I need you to come down here, send me some of your best investigators so we can identify and tell us what this is. No, you just look at it and you understand what it is. And for me, I agree with Skip. For 9 months, that's there. And nobody walks by like, man, let me just go ahead and take this down because I don't even want nobody to get the wrong idea that that's how we operate right here. But no, we just bypass it. I mean, people just bypass it like it's nothing. Oh, yeah, and we're going to have the race here this week, and somebody's going to get this stall. Oh, Bubba, you installed 4. And people don't think anything right. Look, if you are purposefully and willfully not understanding, there's nothing we can do. That was a noose. The FBI identified it as a noose and just said it was not there for the purpose of that, what people thought. I don't really get what the debate is or what the discussion is moving forward. Yeah. And I'm reading Bubba Wallace's timeline and, you justice. In order for this to be a hoax, and Skip and I talked about this earlier, Bubba or his crew, somebody from his team, needed to place that there in order for this to be a hoax. Well, NASCAR and the FBI said that had been there for 9 months. So that absolved Bubba or anybody in his crew from placing it there. Come on, people. Stop it.
No mercy.
MLB on Fox is returning on July 25th with Fox Saturday Baseball, and we could not be more excited. Baseball is back, and of course, America's home for baseball this summer, as always, will be on Fox and FS1. New Cowboy Dontari Poe, who plans on kneeling during the anthem, told Bleacher Report that Jerry Jones' silence on the Black Lives Matter movement is noticeable. He said, quote, "You are an owner of an NFL team, so even if you are not going to be in the forefront, we need to know that we have your support in that type of way." So, Shannon, do you like him saying this?
Okay, what I tell you, Skip, I didn't second guess this. I like to use Skip Bayless. I first guessed this. I said, Skip, this is going to be a problem because he was so outspoken the other way. You will toe the line. You will have the helmet in your left arm and your right hand over your heart. And if you don't do that, you won't play for the Cowboys. So he was so outspoken one way, and he's gone radio silent the other way. I was like, whoa, wait a minute.
I mean, literally radio silent. As in, I have a radio show, but I'm not doing it.
No!
Yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, Jerry don't have an opinion. He has an opinion on everything. Because here's the thing, Skip. You can't say you support one thing and then funnel money, millions of dollars to another thing that goes directly to say what you're supporting. You can't do that. And see, Jerry's not a good liar. See, he can't come out here and say he do something.
I agree with that.
Because they see through him, Skip.
Yep.
Now, Gerald McCoy said it. Now, Dontari Poe has said it. And there are a lot of other guys, even Dez Bryant. Skip, remember they was going to have this march? And Dez said it'd be good if Jared would have show up.
He threw in... Did he throw in
Jason Witten also?
And did he throw Steven in there?
Yeah, so it could be good if Steven and Jerry or Jason Witten, if they were to show up. Skip, it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Jerry's going to have to answer this one way or another. You won't be able to bring Charlotte and Jerry, Gerald Jr. and Steven and all them. You ain't going to be able to kneel your way out of this one, bro. You can't get out of this with Jerry. You're going to have to talk, and you're going to have to look them men in the eyes that you want them to play so hard for you and bring you championships. They're going to need to know. You have, hey, Jerry, you can't get out of this one, bro. You can't talk your way, and you can't use euphemisms and all these analogies. Nah, it's not going to work this time around. But I told you this was going to come, Skip. Sooner or later, his day of reckoning is going to have to come.
So, Dontari Poe is listed at like 6'3", 350 pounds. He is already throwing his considerable weight around in Dallas, Texas, and he has played exactly no snaps for the Dallas Cowboys.
Zero.
So the surprise to me, but I'm good with it. The pleasant surprise is he is speaking up and speaking out, and they have done nothing but virtual workouts, right?
Gerald McCoy.
Yeah, Gerald McCoy, same thing. So you got two, and they're the new two pillars of the defensive front. I don't know if they're going to play a 3-4 or 4-3, but they got two new pillars who will anchor for them in that defensive line.
With Dontari Poe going to be the nose.
You got it. I would say so. Gerald can do that also, but whatever. The point is, I'm going to say this one more time. In the 3 books that I wrote about the Dallas Cowboys, I must have spent thousands of hours around Jerry Jones. Not even in the most unguarded moment that I was around Jerry did he ever say or do anything that led me to think, this man's a racist. So I'm not going to condemn him as a racist. Is he racially enlightened? Probably not. But he has been very close to his star black players, in large part because he wants to buddy up with those in the locker room because he played football and wants to stay close to the locker room.
Right.
But he loves him some Zeke when Zeke can win him some games. Right? Okay. We get that. And that doesn't mean he wouldn't like him anyway. But the point is, Jerry is probably the loosest cannon there is of owner speakers we've ever had. And I think the people who run the publicity department for the Dallas Cowboys, just they hold their breath when he goes on his radio show, because almost every radio appearance he makes, we're talking about it here, right?
Yep.
So I think they would dread him trying to address any sort of black-white issue, because they don't think he would be capable of staying in bounds on it.
Nope.
That he would put his foot in his mouth somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
So, again, it's hard for me to condemn Jerry not speaking out, because I'm not sure he's capable of speaking out in any sort of coherent, reasonable, rational manner that would advance this issue. I'm just not sure he is.
Well, I mean, that's big business now.
Yeah.
You know, race is big business in America.
Ooh, is it? Ooh.
So Jerry's very close to this president. So is Daniel Snyder. There are several
So
owners.
is Robert Kraft.
Yeah.
I mean, Robert Kraft says they are best friends. They go way back, right? He said that Donald Trump was the only man who called me for a year, every day for a year, after I lost my wife, Myra. Right? Okay.
Shah Khan from the I don't get that one, but okay. Hey.
Okay.
Skip. But at some point in time, see, they don't have a problem with Jerry going on talking about football, because football, hey, Jerry can talk about football. But this is something you step in the line. This is a minefield. And one wrong step here can blow up a lot of things.
Got it.
And so Jerry is very, and so I guess they're trying to, okay, Jerry, you know, we're going to need you to stay on script on this one. Say you support the movement and
whatever.
Yeah, because this is a minefield. But I think for me is that because we've heard Jerry talk so much, and he's been so, Skip, of all the owners that said something about the anthem, he was the staunchest.
He was.
You will. And now, everybody, he released a little ticky-tack statement, and he gave off Juneteenth. Nah, Jerry, we need to hear you talk. We need to hear you talk just like you talked about the other.
I hate to say this, but Jerry, your one-loss record next year hinges upon how you handle this, because you can send your team, you can split it right apart if you don't handle this the correct way at the flashpoint moment in history we have arrived at right now.
Absolutely.
So
correct.
it's up to him to try to figure out how to navigate through this as best he can possibly, to maybe appease both sides, but you better appease that other side.
He got to handle it.
Yep.
Skip, I remember when we went through in '97, Mr. Bowling didn't come down.
No.
Mike got the coaches and left the room. It was just us players. But the difference is that this is bigger than that. That was a singular issue. This is so much larger, and they're waiting.
You're talking about the spitting incident
right, with Bill
Monday Night
Romanowski
Football.
and J.J. Stokes.
Yes.
Yeah. This issue is...
For those who don't know, your white player spat upon a black player during Monday Night Football. Go ahead.
And Skip, the thing was, that Romo was my teammate.
Romanowski.
We held him accountable for the action he did to somebody else. So this issue is even bigger. This is 1 billion times bigger than that.
1 billion times. Agreed.
And Jerry is like silent. Jerry Jones, the most, Skip, it's hard to say he's not the most visible owner in professional sports. He's one of the most powerful, and he's the most vocal in NFL. There's no question about that. One of the more powerful ones, and he can't say nothing.
Roger Goodell said something. He stepped up and he ate some humble pie about Colin Kaepernick, right? But Jerry Jones needs to do the same thing.
But Roger can only do so much. Roger works at the behest of those 32.
I got it, but it felt like Roger almost went rogue.
Oh, he did. Well,
I think he just said, I need to do this because it's the right thing to do.
He did call a handful of them. I can assure you, Jerry and Mr. Kraft was one of the two owners that he's like, look, I'm about to release this video, and because I think it's the best. And it was great. And like I said, Skip, knowing Commissioner Goodell, I really sincerely believe that he's a good guy, but he can only do so much when you got those other 32 that's paying the salary. Says, nah, we're not going to do it like that.
No mercy. In just 3 years, Patrick Mahomes has broken NFL records, starred on the cover of Madden, won an MVP, a Super Bowl, and a Super Bowl MVP, which leads us to yesterday when he signed the largest contract in sports history, agreeing to a mega 10-year extension with the Chiefs for $450 million. And according to Fox Bet, Mahomes has the best odds to win another MVP this season. So, Shannon, do you think Mahomes will live up to his contract and win MVP?
I do. He's off to the greatest start for a career in NFL history, Skip, for a quarterback. You look at him, he's 24-7. He's never lost a game by more than 7 points. He's an MVP, Super Bowl MVP, 5,000 yards in the passing season, 50 touchdowns. They average 32 points a game in the games he's played. Skip, he's at that level where he's like Peyton. He's going to be the favorite or the co-favorite to win the MVP every season. If you look at their offense, the oldest skilled player on their offense is Travis Kelce. He's 30. Mecole Hardman, 22. Tyreek Hill, 26. My homeboy, 24. Sammy Watkins, 27. They just took the kid running back out of LSU. Skip, that's what he has to work with. So every year, I mean, that's why Peyton, because he had Marvin Harrison, he had Reggie Wayne, he had Dallas Clark, he had, you know, for a while they had Edgerrin, and then he got Jay Ajayi. I think that's the name. No, Joseph Ajayi. Joseph Ajayi.
Yeah.
So he was going to be there. You know, had Stokely, had Gonzalez. So he's going to put these numbers up because at the end of the day, Skip, is still a stat award. And I believe he's going to win the game. So every year, they're going to win somewhere 11, 12 games. He's going to be 4,500 to 5,000. He's going to be 35 to 40 touchdowns. So he's always going to be in the running. So am I surprised that he's the favorite? No. If I had to pick someone right now, I would pick him.
Well, wait a second. Did you say he got off to the best start in NFL history?
Yeah.
Do you remember that guy he used to be up in Foxborough? Do you remember he won his first 2 Super Bowls he played in the first 2 years he started?
Let me ask you a question.
And he was the MVP?
How old was he when he won his first MVP?
First MVP?
Yeah, the league. That is the best player in the entire league, not the best player in the game.
I judge by Super Bowls.
Whoa, hold on. Could you have given that award to Ty Law? Could you have given that award to Ty Law for the defense for what they did?
2 game-winning drives in the first 2 Super Bowls?
Skip, you don't even have a game-winning drive. If the greatest show on turf do what they're supposed to do, all I'm saying, Skip, it's hard to. You look at his resume. You do realize now his first year he didn't start.
Well, neither did Tom Brady.
Okay, the next year he comes back. Okay. He goes 50. He wins the MVP, 50 and 5,000. Tom won the MVP and won the Super Bowl in his second year. He won the MVP in his third year. You know, his third year, Tom Brady missed the playoffs. Missed the MVP completely. Missed it completely. I don't think the homeboy gonna miss.
Talking about start, though, I'll take Tom Brady's start over that kid's start.
Not his first 3 years.
I'm going to remind you, number 15, suddenly, if you turn the jersey around, it's got a big old target on the back of it right now. Because everybody is going to be gunning for him because he's no longer that lovable kid from Texas Tech who throws no-look left-handed passes. Everybody's going to say, what a hot dog, what a showboat. He makes $500 million, and he better be able to live up to it because everybody is going to be coming for that guy.
He can handle it.
Now, can he handle it as in MVP handle it?
Yeah.
I will give you him for MVP, and I'll take the field for 5 cases now. I will take the field for 5 cases because I am not ruling out that guy in Baltimore because I think he's got something to prove this year.
So in other words, you saying he get the Tiger Woods treatment?
And he get the Tiger Woods treatment. No, I'm giving him the Tiger Woods betting treatment to you. And I am not going to rule out the quarterback in Dallas, who's going to be playing for probably $31.4 million. But Dak Prescott is playing behind the 3rd best offensive line, according to Pro Football Focus, and he added C.D. Lamb. C.D. Lamb to Amari and Gallup and Zeke, who's got something to prove this year, and Tony Pollard, who will be split out more in the slot, catching more passes. All of a sudden, I'm saying, are you sure Dak isn't going to win MVP? But now to my favorite for MVP is that poor, pathetically underpaid quarterback down in Tampa, Florida. The guy who makes only $25 million.
Overpaid.
This guy just got $63 million just to sign. Tom Brady makes $25 this year, $25 next year. Piddly. You know, it's just pathetic what he's going to make in Tampa, and I love his weapons. And he's got Gronk.
He got better weapons than the homeboy?
I think they're on par. I'll take them.
You take Gronk right now over Travis Kelce.
Well, if you throw in O.J. Howard and Cameron Brate, I'll take those 3 over your 1. I'll take those 3.
And you gonna take Tyreek. So you go take.
I got 2 Pro Bowlers split out.
I'm gonna take Samuel. I'm gonna take that 4-man rotation that they got.
Really?
Over.
Okay. Well, again, and that offensive line in Tampa ranked 7th last year, and they did pick.
If you don't mind me asking, what are they ranked this year going in?
Well, according to yesterday's ranking, they were 13th. But that's because they're saying, is Tristan Wirfs going to live up to being the starting right tackle? I thought he was the best of those stud tackles. Some people had him second best of the 4 stud tackles that went early. They stole him at number 13.
My good friend Stink Mark Surrett said he was the worst of the tackles that went in the first round.
Okay, I'll take that, but he's got Denver on his mind.
Yeah, I was like,
right? Okay.
That don't have anything to do with Tampa.
Okay, but the point is, it's all about narrative. Tom Brady had 43 starting over, trying to show Bill Belichick he can get to a Super Bowl. If they win that division, as I think they will, it's a tough division.
They're not winning the division.
Okay, they're going to go 12-4 and win the division. Guess who's going to be right in the thick of the MVP argument? Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. Thank you.
And we beat the brakes off the last time. We beat all 5 of them. We beat them down in his building. You know what? He took a lot of L's in this building before he got up out of Dodge. Tennessee put foots in him. My homeboy put foots in him. Skip, what's going on?
He had that team in position to be the 2 seed last year. He had another game-winning drive canceled by another choke job by Belichick's defense. You know it, and I know it. They let Ryan Fitzpatrick drive 75 yards in 13 plays to lose the 2 seed. They could have had a week off.
You do realize they were still in the playoffs. You're talking about like the defense fell apart and Brady completely and the Patriots completely missed the playoffs. They had a home field. They had a home game, and he let Ryan Tannehill complete like 5 or 6 balls and beat him down.
Oh, he was playing safety?
Whoa, don't do that. Don't do that. No, don't do that. Because with my homeboy lost, you're talking about, he's got to overcome that. No, if your guy's what you said he is, he can't be throwing pick sixes.
My guy had the worst supporting cast in all of pro football, and I wish Cam well because he's going to inherit that lack of supporting cast.
He was. Do you realize your guy was in that band? That band, he was in it. They kept producing them bad records. That's him. He's the lead singer.
He was the lead singer with no backups.
Now my homeboy, he Michael Jackson in the Jackson 5, or he
Will you take my bet? I got the field. I got the field.
No, I won't. I tell you what.
Just one case. I got the field.
Give me Lamar too.
No. Give me Lamar too. What?
No mercy. Jacoby Brissett's Patriots tenure was short-lived as the team traded him to the Colts in 2017 for Philip Dorsett. And during an appearance on Devin and Jason McCourtney podcast, he called Bill Belichick, quote, shady, adding, I think they traded me right before practice and still made me go out there and practice. So, Shannon, what does this tell you about Bill Belichick?
Nothing. I don't need any more stories to come out about Coach Belichick because I've already got my opinion. He's cold. He's callous. He cares about winning, not your feelings. So nothing has changed in my opinion. Coach Belichick is who he is. Everybody knows he's a cheater. He'll do anything he possibly can to win. He will bend the rule books. He will step over. He will do whatever it takes. He's the type of guy that will apologize instead of asking for permission. So this tells me nothing about Coach Belichick. I already knew everything I needed to know about Coach Belichick. He is exactly who you thought he was.
And this quote from Jacoby Brissett is one of my favorite of 2020. And 2020 has been a bad year. But when he said, I think Bill did some shady SH. That was perfect because then he said, I think they traded me right before practice and they still made me go out there and practice because obviously he was running a scout team and Belichick's like, I need him to run the scout team. He's been hot. I need him to try to light my defense up today and take them up another level. Well, that's just wrong, Bill. What if he got hurt? You know, you could cost yourself. Oh, I need him. I need him to practice. I've said all along, this man has some scoundrel.
Your word scoundrel.
Scoundrel. See Spygate. See all the accusations about taping walkthroughs on Saturdays before Super Bowls against the Rams and the Panthers.
And he just got the team another $1.1 million fine and a third-round pick taken away. And counseling, I suffer.
Yes, and now the late, great Don Shula once termed him Belichick.
I mean, let that sink in for
Belichick?
the man that won the most games in NFL history. The only coach to lead a team that's undefeated throughout the entirety of season. Gave the man the name Belichick.
That might
not a fan.
That disqualifies him from being the greatest coach ever.
But Skip, this should not change anybody's opinion. Because if you thought he was anything other than that to begin with, you were sadly mistaken.
Well, that's it for us. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern.